Whether you're watching a live stream you missed or you're just catching up on a workshop, you're exactly where you should be. These sessions are packed with real, actionable strategies for building a business that actually works, without the fluff, the burnout, or the overpriced consultants. We built the eBCBA Odyssey to give entrepreneur BCBAs, what we call eBCBAs, the tools, structure, and support to grow ABA companies that serve families and protect the people doing the work. If you haven't already, take advantage of our free eBCBA Blueprint Foundation course. You'll build your mission, your financial hypothesis, and your strategic objective, the core of your company.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to get started. Do you share your screen, Aparna? Go ahead. Aparna has her format for how to ask questions so that she can best answer them. Aparna is with ASP RCM Solutions, ASP RCM. And for the last 20 years, she specialized in revenue cycle management. Today, she's going to be sharing some of her expertise with us about credentialing. Really happy that you guys are all here to join. Aparna, are you able to share your screen? Because I think that infographic that you had is really good. If you're going to ask a question, we've had a few more people join here. If you're going to ask a question, put it in the chat, include your name, your company name, and the state that you're in before you give us a question, because that's going to change how Aparna answers it. And they've got people in all different states. They're all over the country. So doesn't matter what state you're in as far as being able to get the question answered. But some of this stuff, she might need to email you back later to share the answer with you or discuss it further. What were we looking at here? Will we get a copy of the presentation after? So this presentation will be posted. We just edit it for filler words and stuff to shorten up the timeline. And we'll cut all this out. We'll just have Aparna talking instead of me. And then that's going to get posted on our Facebook group for the community. If you're not in the Facebook group, Josh, if you could post a link to it, you can join the group. It's free. Go in there and you can enjoy all of the other webinars. This one will be posted, and we have a lot of free resources on there. 11:07, this is great. It's probably everybody's in that's going to get in. Like I said, Aparna Suresh is with ASP RCM Solutions. She is going to be going through avoiding problems when you're doing your credentialing for you or any of your BCBAs and your BTs, all of staff that's working for you doing your clinical deliveries. Welcome, Aparna. Thank you for your time and your hard work putting this together. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Are you all able to see my screen? Derek, can you see my presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So I'm Aparna Suresh, a certified billing professional with a passion for simplifying the revenue cycle management and ABA services. It's wonderful to be here with you all today. I'm really excited to discuss the credentialing pitfalls and share some insights that can help safeguard your practice's financial health and the operational efficiency. Just a little bit of introduction about me. I have over 2 decades of experience in the healthcare field. I've had the privilege of working with some of the leading organizations like HCA, Parallon, DXE, etc. Today, I lead ASP, a company which is dedicated to empowering ABA providers through tailored solutions that enhance sustainability, efficiency, and patient outcomes. At ASP, we also bring extensive experience working with many of the top 10 largest national autism providers in the United States and their EMRs, ensuring our solutions are both innovative and highly relevant to the industry. And additionally, I'm a proud contributor of book Essential First Steps, the first of the 9 book series that provides a detailed information on standardization of billing practices, audit process. It showcases our dedication at ASP to advance excellence in the healthcare operations in the ABA world. Before I begin, I would like to take a moment to extend my heartfelt prayers to those that are affected in the devastating fires in California. Our thoughts are with them as they navigate these challenging times, and we hope them a fast recovery and their safety. In this session, we're going to delve into the credentialing pitfalls in the ABA world, explore the challenges the providers face, and also discuss about actionable strategies to streamline these processes. My goal and my aim today is to provide you with some practical insights that not only address the current issues, but will also support the growth and success of your organizations. As I move forward through the presentation, there'll be ample of time for questions at the end, and please feel free to send your questions during the session. I'll prioritize some of the most relevant ones and answer them during our live session. And for questions that require further research, I would appreciate you if you could provide me your name, email address, your clinic name, especially the state you're working in. This way I can follow up with you with a well-researched response after my presentation. And please note, if you do not want to share your personal information like your email address in the chat box, this is entirely voluntary, and you can definitely send me a private message separately, and I can answer your questions even through that as well. And I want to say your questions and insights are incredibly important, and I look forward to addressing them as thoroughly as possible. All right, let's begin this journey together, how we are going to tackle the challenges and build a brighter and more efficient future for ABA services. I hope you guys are able to see my screen. Okay, yes, before we could dive in, thank you. Before we could dive into the pitfalls, I want to take a moment to clarify the difference between credentialing and contracting. These terms are often used interchangeably, leading to a lot of confusion among providers, which in turn has caused financial strain due to the lack of understanding. First, let me explain what credentialing is, then I'll explain what contracting is, and then we can know the differences. Credentialing is the process of verifying the provider's qualification and their professional background. For example, this involves confirming whether this provider is a BCBA or a BCABA or an RBT. Do they have the state certification? Do they have the malpractice insurance? Do they need a specific payer-related guideline or the state requirement? For example, if you're in the state of Texas, even if you have a board certification, that's not good enough. I was just chatting with Derek right before this presentation. He was checking with me if the provider is in the state of Arizona, is the board certification is enough, or do they also will have to go through an LBA certification through the state, and how long it's going to take? Yes. In certain states, just the board certification is not going to be good enough. You will also need to obtain a state-specific certification. So you need to know that these are all the standards or the requirements for you to be credentialed in that particular state under that particular payer. However, credentialing alone does not mean a provider is paneled with the payer. So if the insurance confirms your credential, that doesn't mean you're already paneled. It only means your qualification has been verified. If you are an eligible provider to render service in that particular state, and if you are someone that can be paneled with the payer or not, just your qualification is being verified when they say your credential. Now let's understand what contracting means. Now contracting is a separate step, which is totally independent of credentialing, which comes after the credentialing is completed. This step formalizes the legal and the financial relationship between the provider and the payer. This step defines some of the key terms, such as reimbursement rates. This is very important, and I want you to remember this for sure. Reimbursement rates can be negotiated. So whatever rates that are given, if you're not happy with them, you can renegotiate it. Now, what does reimbursement rate means? This is the amount the providers will be paid for the services. And then some of the other key terms that are there in the contract are the termination clauses. Now, how long is the agreement valid, or the terms under which the agreement can be ended? Some of the payer-specific policies, the unique rules or expectation for service delivery, the credentialing maintenance, the ongoing compliance requirements to remain active with the payer. Why does this difference matter? While credentialing ensures the provider is qualified to deliver the care, contracting ensures these services are reimbursed by payers at agreed upon rates. For example, let's say a provider has successfully completed the credentialing process confirming their qualification and their eligibility to deliver care. However, without a formal contract in place, they are not considered to be in network with the payer. As a result, if they assume that they're going to be reimbursed at an in-network rates, they are wrong because they are not contracted yet. They are only credentialed. If they submit claims just after the credentialing, they may get paid at a significantly lower rate, probably an out-of-network rate, leading to an unexpected financial strain for the clinic. Unless you have a contract in place where both the parties, the payer and the provider, has signed, please do not render the service unless you have a single case agreement, which is fine. Understanding this difference between what a credentialing is and what contracting is very crucial. And this is one of the common pitfalls where many of the providers face, because if we do not ensure we know these differences and have contract in place, this will impact the quality of care and the reimbursement that you are going to receive for the services that you have rendered. I hope I have clarified you guys the difference between credentialing and contracting. Before we could dive into the pitfalls, I still want to share some of the importance of the credentialing and contracting. So here we go. All right. The importance of credentialing and contracting is not just an administrative step. It is a critical process that directly impacts the financial health, the operational efficiency, and the patient access of clinics. Now, let's understand what are these impacts to the clinics, to the clients you render service, and the operational benefits. So we'll divide, I'm going to talk each of it in detail. So let's start with their impacts on clinic. Proper credentialing ensures timely claims reimbursement and prevents revenue losses due to denials. Delays in credentialing can postpone a provider's onboarding, limiting the patient care capacity and also strains the revenue stream. We have a mandate called as Prompt Payment Act, which means the providers is supposed to get paid within a specific period of time. They have to get paid promptly. If the provider is not credentialed or uncredentialed or not contracted yet, then it is impossible for them to have this mandate activated. So it might lead to delayed or denied claims, disrupting the cash flow. So failure to adhere to the payer-specific credentialing requirements can result in audits. When I say it results in audits, it includes both prepayment and the post-payment audits. It includes penalties and exclusion from the payer network, increasing the financial and operational risk. These are all the impacts on the clinics. Now let's understand what are the impacts on the clients. When a client is the kiddo who is having autism and is taking an ABA care, if this provider is going to be taking services from a contracted provider, then they are going to be benefited by their in-network benefits. And this reduces the out-of-pocket costs for the member who is working or directly taking services from an ABA provider who is in-network. And they also get the affordable care. So say, for example, you have a family that is receiving ABA care for their child with autism. They could face financial hardship if the provider is not a network. So credentialing bridges the gap by aligning the provider's availability with the patient's affordability and meeting the payer requirements. And for Medicaid beneficiaries, credentialing ensures compliance with state-specific mandates, granting access to the critical services at minimal or no cost. I'm sure you would have heard about the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Law. It requires insurance to offer behavioral health benefits, including ABA therapy, on par with the medical services. Credentialing ensures that providers can participate in network and patients can fully utilize these mandated benefits. Credentialing and contracting have a major impact on clients if they do not choose an in-network provider. It not only increases their out-of-pocket costs, there are certain accessibility that they would not be able to get if they do not take services from a participating or an in-network provider. Now let's understand the operational benefits. Credentialing goes beyond payer approval. when a clinic is being credentialed with some of the top payers, then it shows the clinic's credibility and their operational efficiency. By ensuring compliance with payer-specific and federal guidelines such as HIPAA, CMS guidelines, the clinics are able to demonstrate their commitment to quality care and ethical practices. I hope you can understand the impact on the clinic, the operational benefits, and also the impact on clients. Some of the key documentation checklists, this is very important. I have divided this into providers and for new providers and for the new clinics. I'm going to discuss some of the major checklists that these providers should have, the documentation that these providers should keep ready. If they do not have these documentations, it is going to impact their handling with the payer. Now, let's start for the new providers. What are the essential documentation that are required for these new providers? The first one is the NPI registration. I'm sure all of you are aware, if you are a BCBA or if you are a BCABA, sometimes even the RBT is required to have this NPI. Now, if you will have to get your NPI, you need to use NPPES portal and then make sure that you register and get your NPI. Now, one of the key important information that many providers miss is the taxonomy code. Now, if you choose a wrong taxonomy code in the NPPES or update a wrong taxonomy code in your CAQH or submit a wrong taxonomy code in the payer application, it will lead to rejection. If you have made a mistake in your NPI, I would recommend you to log into your NPI profile, update the taxonomy. You will have an edit option, a pencil icon, which you can click in, and then you can make all the necessary changes. Once you have completed those changes and update your taxonomy code, it typically takes about 1 to 2 days to reflect in the NPS system. So it is very important for you to have the taxonomy code updated correctly. And then comes the state licensure. Verify that all the required board and the state certifications are current and accurate. And another most important information is the malpractice insurance. Maintaining the professional liability insurance is a critical payer requirement. It is not an option. And I'm going to explain in detail if this malpractice insurance is provided by the clinic, what are the important requirements that a BCBA should have, and if this PLI is maintained on their own, what are all the important things to be kept up to date in order to avoid payer denials. If the clinic is going to provide a professional liability coverage for their employed BCBAs, then it is essential to ensure that the BCBA's name is explicitly listed in the providers covered in the clinic's professional liability insurance. To say that if you have a professional liability insurance, and if we are going to submit that professional liability insurance of the clinic to the payer, we need to make sure that the BCBA's name is explicitly listed under that professional liability insurance. And the coverage should be current. It should be aligned to the payer requirements. The reason why I say that is, for example, TRICARE mandates ABA providers to have professional liability insurance with the coverage amounts of about 1 million per claim and 3 million in aggregate. So you need to make sure if you are submitting an application to TRICARE, you need to have this satisfied. Otherwise, the insurance is not going to approve the credentialing application. And also, we need to make sure that it includes the BCBA details and upload this malpractice insurance, even if it is provided by your clinic in the CAQH portal, and have it attested, because this is a required information for the credentialing process. Now, let's say, for example, you are an individual BCBA, you maintain your own professional liability insurance, then it needs to be up to date. It needs to be active. I'm just going to pause for a moment. All right. Thank you. If the provider is going to have their own professional liability insurance, then it is really important for the provider to keep it up to date, compliant with the payer-specific guidelines, make sure that it is uploaded in the CAQH, and also have the W-9 or equivalent tax forms for tax identification. If it is a new clinic, We need to make sure that the group NPI is properly registered for the clinic as an entity, and the business licenses. It is up to date and it meets the state and the local requirements as an operating ABA clinic. Now, when it comes to liability insurance, again, they need to have them ready. They need to keep them up to date in order to protect them against the operational risk. So highlighting preparation, this is the most important piece. Preparing all required documents in advance ensures a smooth submission process and prevents unnecessary delays during credentialing. I hope you understood the key difference between credentialing and contracting. What are the key documentation checklists? Now let's dive into the pitfalls. All right, excuse me. The first pitfall is on the errors in providers' information. Some of the most important things that are missing are providers' NPI, incorrect or missing NPI taxonomy codes. This usually causes the payers to reject the application or misclassify the provider's specialty. Even if they miss or if they're going to reject the application, it is still okay. But if they get misclassified, that's a real problem, because if they misclassify, when you call and give your provider's NPI, they're still going to say the provider is credentialed. But when you submit the claims, your claims are going to get denied because the taxonomy that is submitted on the claim doesn't match with the taxonomy that was submitted to the payer during the application process, because it was submitted wrongly in the application or updated wrongly in the CAQH or updated incorrectly in NPP. We need to make sure that these taxonomy codes are accurate, the NPI is accurate when it is submitted, and errors in the submission will definitely lead to rejection. Or if they're going to be missed or expired board certification, a professional liability insurance, a state licensure, all of these will halt the credentialing process. Now let's understand the impact of these errors. These mistakes result in delayed approvals, missed reimbursement opportunities, and inability to serve the clients on time. I'm going to give some examples on some of the misinformation, what would happen, and what is the possible solution for these issues that we have encountered. We're currently working across 40 different states, predominantly the majority of the top payers, HMOs, Medicaid. So these the top 5 pitfalls that we are going to discuss, and the details inside each pitfall, the misinformation or whatever documentation that is not submitted definitely leads to delay in the credentialing process. It also leads to rejection and probable delay. So now let's understand each of them in detail. Incorrect NPI taxonomy code. Say, for example, the provider is a BCBA, behavioral analyst, but they are submitted under a healthcare provider. What would happen? It is going to lead to rejection, and it is going to lead to resubmission delays. If there is a missed board information, I remember a clinic where the BCBA faced a 30-day delay because the board certification copy was not uploaded during the submission. The payer flagged this documentation. They gave about 15 to 20 days for us to respond back. But since this was not submitted on time, it delayed the credentialing processes by 30 days. The state licensure issue. In Washington, a BCBA was credentialed in their board, but they need to again get credentialed or certified by the state. And if those are not completed, this is going to lead to credentialing delays or expired malpractice insurance. If a provider is submitting a credentialing application with an expired malpractice insurance, even though all the other documentation is up to date, the credentialing process will not be completed. This will lead to a delay in the approval process. So what is the solution? How can we avoid all these? The most important solution is pre-submission verification. Use a checklist. Verify the completeness and accuracy of all the documentation before submission. The key items include the NPI. As I always say, make sure that the taxonomy code is valid, the current board certification, the state licensure, the malpractice insurance is up to date, your CAQH is attested and is up to date, and have a dedicated credentialing team. assign a team or an individual to double check the submission, ensure all the requirements are met and all the documents are up to date. Now, what are all the proactive measures you can take to avoid this pitfall? Set expiration alerts. You need to have a tracking mechanism, and you need to set expiration dates for some of the key documents like your board certification or your licensure. The reminder should be set 90, 60, 30 days in advance. So that gives enough time for these providers to have that updated and provide enough training to your internal staff. But not just the payer-specific requirements, but also the state-specific requirements to avoid this common credentialing pitfall. I hope we have discussed this in detail. I'm going to take a pause for a minute, probably about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to stop sharing. If you guys have any questions so far in any of these, whatever that we have discussed so far, or on the first pitfall, I'm happy to answer your questions. If there are no questions, then I'm going to go to the next pitfall. I'm going to give a couple of minutes.
Mendy had a question. Mendy, what state are you in? You might have posted it earlier. What state are you in, and what is your clinic name? Her question was about Medicaid.
Okay.
Oh, she's in Pennsylvania. So she was asking in Pennsylvania, how does it work if Medicaid is the secondary insurance?
I will have to go back to review if it is a Pennsylvania state, but in general, for most of the secondary payers, if the primary has paid, if they submit the claims, even though they're not credentialed, they do make payments. But some states, they will have to be credentialed with the payers in order to receive the payments. Again, Mandy, I'm going to check very specific to Pennsylvania Medicaid, and I'm going to come back to you. If you can give me your information on what is your full name, your email address, I'm happy to send the information back to you. Got it. I will email you the details.
And definitely book an orientation with our team, Mendy. When we do that, we'll connect you with Aparna and other resources too. Just starting up, for example, there's a post on the group, an anonymous member posted, is $5,000 a reasonable rate to pay a lawyer to help her start the business up? And it took me all morning to get a hold of her. I said, don't pay a lawyer. Like, you can get Legal Shield, write your own policies, have them review it, have your credentialing set up, and go through all this stuff and save your money. You're going to need that working capital. And I was talking with Aparna about it before we started the webinar. But yeah, definitely startup is critical. So get with us and we'll connect you with Aparna as well.
And Tessa, yes, there is a checklist. I'm going to provide the checklist, a white paper, and some additional documentation. Once I complete our session, maybe an email blast will go to all the members that have joined the call today. And I think those are the 2 top questions that I'm seeing right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We can go and discuss on the next minute. I'm going to go over the next one. So here is the second pitfall that we are going to discuss: delays in verification and submission. So credentialing is definitely a time-sensitive process with strict payer-specific timelines. Any late submission of application can significantly delay the onboarding and the reimbursement. Lack of follow-up, inconsistent or infrequent follow-ups with the payers can definitely result in application stalling, as payers often require additional information or corrections to move forward. Now, what are all the impacts of this delay? Extended credentialing timelines can prevent the providers from being paneled, delaying their ability to serve the patients and bill as an in-network provider. Now, I want to explain a recent issue that a particular clinic faced and how our organization helped them to overcome that particular issue of prolonged credentialing process. This particular clinic, they were trying to credential with the payer for over a year. Due to lack of prompt follow-up with the payer, they were not able to get credentialed. They came to us, they approached us, requesting us to help them with the credentialing process. When we started working with them, we requested them, okay, we got all their information and we started investigating the situation. We discovered that when the application was sent And it was stalled because there was a documentation request from the payer that was requested, but the documentation was not submitted. Now, how did this happen? This is because the provider's email address that is mentioned in their CAQH is the personal email address that was not monitored. So it is very critical that we ensure the credentialing contact email address of your organization is listed in the CAQH instead of the provider's personal contact information. Payers often send requests requesting them for the missing documentation or any clarification to the email address which is there on file. They may choose the email from the CAQH or from the application. It is their choice. So we need to make sure that we need to give an email that will be monitored actively, because these requests may go unnoticed. They are not going to be requesting you over and over again. Once they send you a request, you have not responded back to them, they may close your application. And if they close the application, you may have to restart the whole credentialing process again. And this further delays the credentialing process. So, for example, in this case, the payer has sent the missing documentation request to the email address listed in the provider's personal email address, which was not being monitored. This clinic only became aware of this issue when we verified the application status, and we inquired them, why is there a delay? And then they've informed us, yes, they have sent the requested documents depending on the email address that's mentioned in the CAQH. When we went back and reviewed, the CAQH had the personal email address of the provider, which was not monitored. How can we avoid such delays? We need to ensure the credentialing contact email is accurate in CAQH and in the application, and it is actively monitored. Update both the CAQH profile and the payer application with the same credentialing contact email to prevent any discrepancy. We need to monitor this email inbox promptly and respond to the payer request promptly, as payers may not be consistent in or have a preference which email address they want to use. This simple but yet a critical step can significantly reduce the delays caused by the overlooked documentation request. And the missed deadlines. Again, this is another issue that we face. One provider, they submitted an application past the payer quarterly review deadline. If they have not recredentialed or have not updated the information that is requested, this would result in significant delay. For this particular provider, this resulted in 3-month delay before the payer started processing it. Or if there was a failure to respond to payer request, if the clinic overlooks to provide clarification on the requested information. It may be anything. It may be a coverage information that they are requesting on the professional liability insurance. Again, if we do not give them the clarification, even if you have all the documents up to date, if a clarification is requested, it can be anything. It can be even references of your peer information that the insurance is requesting from you. Or it can be an address information, or it can be the previous employment information. It is just a clarification. Even if that is not updated and responded back on time, this will lead to credentialing delays. What are the solutions for this? Start early. This is my recommendation to all the providers. Begin the credentialing process as soon as possible. Ideally, 120 to 180 days before the provider is intended start with the clinic. This allows sufficient time to handle the payer-specific timelines or any potential roadblocks. Establish a follow-up schedule. Regularly check the status of application with the payers. My recommendation, once in 2 weeks. If there is any missing information or any clarification that is requested by the payer, respond promptly. Use email, payer portal, phone calls for consistent communication. and track the deadlines. Maintain a master tracker for submission deadlines where you can review the payer cycles, ensure that the timely submissions are happening, avoid missing windows for processing. Now, what is the outcome of timely submission? Faster credentialing approval rates, and you would be able to start billing for your clients on time and get into the network sooner. This definitely increase your revenue flow and patient access. Not just these, even proactive communication with the payer demonstrates professionalism, and it also helps to create trust with the payers, leading fewer delays and smoother processes in the follow-up. Even if you want to expand credentialing more providers, it becomes easier because you have demonstrated and you have created the trust with the payers. I'm just going to go into the next pitfall: insurance panel restrictions. Okay, this is a very important pitfall that I'm seeing predominantly in some of the payers in certain states. There is no one-shot solution for this, but I'm going to give you an example on how we dealt with this. What are all the possible ways that we can do if we have a closed panel situation? So many insurances, many payers have closed panels, meaning they limit the number of providers who would be able to join their networks. So this creates significant challenges for new providers trying to participate. Now, what are the impacts of closed panels? The providers may be forced to operate as out-of-network providers. Yes, you can definitely request for a single case agreement, but getting a single case agreement is going to be really difficult. Not just that, getting the fee schedule related to the single case agreement is again difficult. This leads to higher costs for the patients. If you are going to be a non-participating provider, it initiates the out-of-network benefits for the provider, and it increases their out-of-pocket, and it also reduces the accessibility to care. The clinics can also lose potential revenue, and the patients when they are unable to secure an in-network status with the key payers. We had a situation where a panel saturation denial was received for one of the provider that we were working for. I want to give you details on what did we do in that case and how we came out of that situation. And maybe you can try that. There's no guarantee that it will work for all payers, but I just want to give you an example where we were able to overcome that situation. So this was a suburban clinic where they were trying to panel with a particular payer, and the payer rejected, stating that they have reached the panel saturation, they have enough providers in that area, and they are not going to credential the provider application that we have submitted. However, the clinic had evidence of long patient wait list for ABA services. So what did we do? We did a data-driven advocacy. We worked closely with the clinic and create compelling data, which included the following: the patient waitlist numbers and the average wait period for services in that particular region, the lack of accessible in-network providers, and we also collected testimonials from the families struggling to get timely care. And then we created a community impact statement. We assisted the clinic in preparing a detailed community impact statement showcasing how their inclusion in the payer network would address the unmet needs and improve the patient access to care for underserved population. Then we made a direct negotiation with the payer. Our team engaged directly with the payer-provider relations representative, presenting the data, emphasizing the clinic's unique capabilities, such as specialized services that they provide, and their ability to reduce care delays for the patients. Now, highlighting all these, along with the provider qualification, we highlighted the clinic's highly qualified staff, their commitment to meet the quality standards, their alignment with the payer goals for improving the patient outcomes. What had happened? The result, the collaborative effort, we were able to successfully gain an exception and secure a panel inclusion, enabling them to serve more families and improve access to the ABA services in their community. Again, receiving panel saturation or panel closed notice doesn't mean you should stop trying. If you are aware of a genuine need in your community, and if you have evidence such as long wait list or limited access to care, you can still pursue inclusion in the network. While I cannot guarantee that it will always work out, but I would definitely say there is absolutely nothing wrong in giving it a try and advocating for your clinic and present your case for your clinic. So persistence, backed up with the data, create a community impact statement. It usually opens the door that initially seemed closed for panel closed or panel restriction, rejections, or denials. I'm going to pause for a minute here again. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to see if there are any questions that you all have before I will go into the next pitfall.
Actually, we had one question. If you could go back to pitfall number 2.
Okay.
T was asking to go into more detail about the solution to the problem.
All right. It's the pitfall 1.
Pitfall 2.
Oh, pitfall 2. Okay. Delays in verification and submission. All right. Okay. If you do not want to have delays in verification of submission, my recommendation is to start early, probably start 120 to 180 days before the provider's start date. If you are going to recruit, say, for example, you're in Georgia, you're recruiting a provider, a BCBA, she's going to join after 180 days. I recommend you to start collecting the documentation, everything that is needed for you to panel with the payer. You can collect their CAQH information. You could collect their NPI information. You could collect their certification. If there is a state requirement certification that you need to have, the professional liability insurance, have all the documents collected, verify them, keep them handy. This allows you enough time to submit the application even before the provider has joined you. There is nothing wrong in doing it. You know that this provider is going to join your organization. Start early because insurance takes probably up to 3 months to 6 months to credential a provider. If you're able to start early, you can submit the required documentation and you would be able to reduce some of the delay and establish a follow-up schedule. My recommendation would be follow up once every 2 weeks. Even though they're going to take 3 months to complete the credentialing process, there is nothing wrong in calling and verifying them. Hey, have you received the documentation? Do you need any further information? And it is not necessary that you will always have to call them. You can email them. There are payer portals which you would be able to verify with and track the deadlines. I strongly recommend everyone to have a tracker in place so you can track the deadlines, you can review them, the peer review cycles, and make sure that you submit within the requested time frame. Don't miss the windows, because if you miss the windows, it's going to delay the process. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, he said thank you. And also Sugra was asking where you recommend they get malpractice insurance from in Michigan.
Okay, they're in Michigan. There are few of the malpractice insurances some of my providers use. Give me your information. Just send me an email. Some of the regular malpractice insurances that I use, I can send you the details. Again, I'm not tied up with any of these malpractice insurances. I'm going to give you information from the providers that I have already credentialed. What are all the usual malpractice insurances that they use? You feel free to review them, try to understand if that works for you or not, and then you can make a choice. Give me your email address. I would be able to give you a list, probably 4 to 5 of them, and you can make a choice from there.
Awesome. And that looks like all the questions so far.
All right. So let's jump in to the next one. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, we completed the second pitfall. We finished the panel restrictions. I hope I detailed all the information regarding the panel closure, denial, or rejections if you're going to face. Let's understand failure to update or renew contracting. It can be a lapsed credentialing, or it can be a lapsed documentation, then licenses, certification. It can be a malpractice insurance expiration. Payers will deactivate the provider's credentialing status if it is not updated. So they will deny your claims for services provided during this lapse. Even if they have made a payment to you, if they find that a particular information is lapsed, it can be your professional liability insurance or your certificates or your certification, they will recoup, meaning they can take back, they can claw back the amount that they have made a payment during this lapse period. So it is extremely important to keep them up to date. They can even suspend the provider's in-network status, impacting both the patient access and the clinic's revenue. It also creates an operational disruption. Providers are often unaware of the upcoming expiration. This may result in last-minute scrambling or gap in coverage. So I want to give you an example. I had a provider where their state license got expired. We updated them 90 days before. They said, yeah, they're working on it. They're going to submit it. And it was not submitted on time. And it definitely got updated. They gave us the updated information, the valid state licensure a little later, but we were not able to submit claims for 3 weeks until it was renewed. So this delay has caused a significant cash flow issues for the clinic. Yes, 3 weeks may sound small, but this provider was serving almost like 10 kids, where predominantly this particular payer, where the provider was rendering service. So she was not able to submit the claims for this provider until the information was updated in the payer system. Even if you submit it, that is not enough. It needs to get updated in the payer system. Again, what is the solution? Proactive tracking, maintaining a centralized tracking system to monitor all the expiration dates. It can be a licensure, certificate, CAQH attestation. Make sure that you set up alerts for 90, 60, 30 days before the expiration, so you can ensure timely renewals. And assign responsibility, designate a credentialing coordinator, or have someone like us who will be able to help you to oversee these updates and ensure that all these renewals are completed on time before the expiration. And payer-specific timelines. Understand what are the specific payer-specific guidelines that are there for your state, renewing, updating the credentialing information, whatever documentation requests that they are requesting you to submit it, to avoid any kind of deactivation. The conclusion, proactive renewal of credentials prevents your claim denials, maintain and also help you to maintain your in-network status and ensure an uninterrupted services for clients. A well-organized approach to your credential management builds payer trust and enhances the clinic's operational efficiency. We are going to go into the last pitfall for today. The lack of understanding of credentialing requirements, misunderstanding of payer-specific guidelines. What would happen? Credentialing requirements vary very significantly between payers, leading to confusion about what documents or what information are to be submitted. Even if you talk about Blue Cross for the state of Illinois, will have a separate application, separate documentation requirements as compared to the Blue Cross of Arizona. Understanding specific payer requirements, not just the payer, even the state requirements for that payer, is extremely important to have your provider paneled. Missteps like submitting incomplete application or failing to meet the unique requirements can result in rejections or prolonged processing times. Then comes the state-specific nuances. Some states have additional requirements, such as specific certification, licensure for not just the BCBAs, even for RBTs. For example, TRICARE, they also want the RBTs to be certified. In the state of, I think it is in certain states, I specifically think it was Anthem, that they also required RBTs to be credentialed. So you need to understand the state-specific nuances for that particular payer and have an understanding of what their credentialing requirements are, in order to avoid any kind of delays due to credentialing requirements. And what is the solution? The solution is an ongoing staff training. Conduct regular training sessions for your credentialing team to ensure that they understand both the payer-specific and the state-specific requirements. Share the updates that the payer sends you in the form of newsletters, the credentialing guidelines, what are the forms that they use, and what is their process? How long is their processing time? If they respond back, request an information, how quickly you will have to submit. Have a process in place and train your staff on it and standardize these processes. This is an important step that we do for all the states. For every payer that we credential our providers that are working with us, we have a standardized checklist. For example, if it is Georgia, or if it's, say, for example, Georgia, I have a Blue Cross. Where should I submit the application? What is the application that is to be submitted? What are all the documents that is required? What is the payer-specific guidelines? We have a checklist for every payer, for every state that we have worked with. So it is easy for us to know, yeah, have I completed this or not? And this standardization of process is extremely important for you to have a credentialing success. And take experts' advice, engage with credentialing specialists or third-party services. They would be able to manage the complex payer or state requirements effectively. What is the outcome? A thorough understanding of credentialing requirements reduces errors, speeds up the approval rates, and minimizes the risk of application rejections. Empowered staff with right training and the right tools will ensure a seamless credentialing process, enhancing the clinic's operational efficiency and the reputation. So these are all the pitfalls that we're going to discuss. These are the major pitfalls that we have seen that results probably in 60 to 70% of credentialing denials or contracting delays. I would also love to explain a process flow chart, what you need to know when it comes to credentialing. I'm going to walk through these steps. There are just 4 steps, and what you need to do under each of these steps, I'm going to explain shortly. So you would be able to have these processes in place, some kind of standardization that you can have in your clinic if you want to do it on your own. Pre-credentialing, collect, verify provider information and all the required documentation as per the payer guideline, as per the state guidelines. Have all the documentation ready before submitting it. If you are not sure of a particular documentation or if it is incomplete, please do not send it. This is going to further delay the credentialing process. Submission. Now, if you are going to submit the documentation, make sure it is complete and maintain detailed logs. How did you submit it? When did you submit it? What are all the documents you have submitted? After you have submitted, call after a week or 2 to confirm if the payer has received all the documentation. Verification. Submission doesn't guarantee you will be credentialed and contracted. You need to verify. You need to call them once every 2 weeks. Make sure that they have received. Do they need any further information? This kind of ensures that if there is a request that has been sent, you have not received, or if there is anything that they are looking for, you'll be able to answer right away. Approval and maintenance. Monitor credentialing status and renew on time the maintenance of compliance. Just because you're credentialed, it doesn't mean you're a lifetime credentialed with a payer. Sometimes it is active only for a year. You need to re-credential. You need, or maybe it is the credentialing contract is valid only for 3 years. You need to re-credential again. Make sure that you have a tracker that has all this information. So these are all the 4 steps that we have as a process: pre-credentialing, submission, verification, approval, and maintenance, in order to have a proper standardization of the credentialing process. I've come to the final slide. Additional tips: consistent follow-up with the payer ensures nothing falls through the cracks. Verify all the relevant documentation for your provider specialty, for your clinic type. Make sure the taxonomy codes, NPI, everything matches. Have the right email address, same email address on all CAQH, NPPS, or the provider application. Have a centralized process for your credentialing. If you are operating in different states, make sure that you have a centralized process, and also reduce differences, usage of different systems. Have one system, one software, one tracker across all your clinics to avoid or reduce any errors. Those are all the things that I have today to share with you all. The common pitfalls, what you can do in order to overcome these pitfalls and to ensure that you have a seamless process in credentialing. It is not an easy process. It is complex, but you have resources that are available, and you would definitely be able to be successful in credentialing a provider if you follow through the payer guidelines, the state guidelines, everything. And if you have any further questions, and I'm happy to answer, you can drop them in the chat box. If I'm not able to answer right away, I'll make a note of them and I will send out an email to you guys. And I do have a checklist and a white paper with some of the nuances that I have discussed here and some case studies that I would love to share with you all. Any questions? I'm happy to answer. The floor is all yours.
You guys definitely drop your emails in the chat there, and then we'll gather all those up and make sure everybody gets those checklists. And I know Jessica had some questions. We're gonna pass on Jessica's email address to Aparna so you guys can chat. And anybody else who's asked any questions and provided email addresses, we'll make sure that Aparna has all your information. But really, always try to make sure that we're making good use of our time on these webinars. And thank you for putting so much time and effort into this and building so much value in here. Your time is very valuable, and we do appreciate it, Aparna.
Thank you so much, Derek. Just to answer Jessica's question, if it is an ABA provider, it is easier. You have to submit under mental health provider segment. But if it is an OT or SLP, for some payers, you need to submit under medical providers, not under mental health providers. We need to know the distinction depending on the payer, under which category you need to submit your credentialing application. Again, call the payer. You have payer website that will give you information on how you can submit, under which category the application is to be submitted. I have seen a situation where for a particular provider, they have submitted under behavioral health for an OT, but then the application got rejected because they should have chosen the application under the medical side, not on the behavioral health side. Understanding this difference definitely help you to fasten, speeden the credentialing process and to have the providers certified.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, guys. And if this recording is going to go on the ABA Business Challenges group on Facebook, if you're not in the group, just go to Facebook, search ABA Business Challenges. We will let you in. It's free. The more, the merrier. And again, Aparna, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you on the next one, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.
You're already doing the work, investing your time, your energy, and your vision. So let's make it count. Build something that works without breaking you. The eBCBA blueprint is the way. Get started for free with our foundation course.